Park Jiho looked out the window of Earth's orbital station and watched the massive alien ship approach. The vessel was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Its dark metal surface seemed to eat the light from nearby stars. This was not a friendly visit. Jiho had been Earth's lead diplomat for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. 3 years ago, humans made first contact with the Galactic Council. At first, it seemed like a dream come true. Humans were not alone in the universe. There were 12 different alien species working together across the galaxy. But dreams can quickly turn into nightmares. The alien ship docked with the station. Heavy footsteps echoed through the metal corridors. Ambassador Veltar entered the meeting room like he owned it. The alien stood 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were completely black, showing no emotion. Behind him walked 2 guards carrying weapons that hummed with energy. "Greetings, human," Veltar said in perfect English. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I bring words from the Galactic Council." Jiho stood and bowed slightly. "Welcome, Ambassador. We are honored by your visit." Veltar did not return the greeting. Instead, he placed a small device on the table. It projected a hologram showing official council documents. "The Council has made a decision about humanity's place in the galaxy." Kim Salmon, Earth's Secretary of Defense, leaned forward in her chair. She had insisted on being present for this meeting. Her military training told her this was not going to be good news. Lee Dae-hun, the head of human intelligence, sat quietly in the corner. His job was to watch and listen for things others might miss. "We are ready to hear the Council's wisdom," Jiho said carefully. Veltar touched the device. New images appeared in the hologram. Maps of Earth's solar system, lists of resources, population numbers, military assessments. The aliens had been studying humanity very closely. "The Council recognizes that humans have advanced quickly," Veltar began. "Your species has spread to several planets in just a few centuries. You have developed interesting technologies. Your solar system contains valuable resources." Soman felt her stomach tighten. This sounded like a predator describing its prey. "However," Veltar continued, "young species often make dangerous mistakes. They start wars. They destroy their environments. They create weapons that threaten peaceful civilizations. The Council has a duty to prevent such chaos." The hologram changed to show examples of destroyed worlds. Planets that were nothing but ash and broken rock. "These worlds failed to accept Council guidance," Veltar explained. "We do not wish the same fate for humanity." Jiho kept his face calm, but inside, he was screaming. This was not an offer of friendship. This was a threat wrapped in pretty words. "The Council offers humanity a choice," Veltar said. The hologram now showed a long list of demands. "Accept these terms, and humans will be welcomed into galactic civilization. Refuse and face the consequences of your isolation." Salman read the terms and felt sick. The Council wanted 80% of all rare Earth minerals from human worlds. They demanded complete access to human technology and research. They wanted humans to serve in Council military forces. Most shocking of all, they insisted on placing Council governors on every human planet. These terms seem quite... Jiho searched for diplomatic words. "Comprehensive. The Council is generous," Veltar replied. "Other species received much harsher treatment when they joined. Humans should feel honored." Lee Dae-hun finally spoke from his corner. "What happens if we need time to consider these terms?" Veltar's black eyes fixed on him. "The Council understands that primitive species need time to comprehend advanced concepts. You have 30 days to prepare your compliance." 30 days. Not to decide, but to prepare compliance. The message was clear. "Of course," Jiho said smoothly. 30 days should be sufficient for humanity to organize this transition." After the aliens left, the 3 humans sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Soman spoke. "They want to make us slaves." "Worse than slaves," Dae-hun said. "Slaves at least live on their homeworlds. They want to scatter us across the galaxy as soldiers and workers." Jiho activated the room's security measures to prevent listening devices. We need to contact President Choi immediately. Within hours, Choi Moran sat in the most secure room on Earth, surrounded by her top advisors. The president looked older than her 50 years as she reviewed the council's demands. How many ships do they have? She asked. Our intelligence suggests at least 10,000 combat vessels, Soman replied. Each one could destroy our entire fleet. Their technology? Choi asked. Centuries ahead of ours in most areas, Daehun admitted. Their weapons, shields, and engines are far superior to anything we possess. Choi nodded slowly. So we cannot fight them directly? No, Madam President, Soman said. A direct military confrontation would be suicide. Then we will not fight them directly. Choi's voice was quiet but firm. How much do they know about human psychology? Daehun smiled for the first time that day. Very little, I suspect. Their assessment focused on our technology and resources. They seem to think we are just another primitive species to be dominated. Good. Choi stood and walked to the window. Outside, the lights of Seoul stretched to the horizon, millions of people going about their lives, unaware that their freedom hung in the balance. They expect us to spend 30 days preparing for surrender. Instead, we will spend 30 days preparing for war. Madam President, Soman said carefully, you just said we cannot fight them directly. Choi turned back to her advisors. There are many ways to fight, Secretary Kim. Sometimes, the best weapon is not a gun or a bomb. Sometimes the best weapon is an idea. Over the next few hours, they contacted key people across Earth and the human colonies. Scientists, engineers, military officers, intelligence agents, people who had been preparing for this day since first contact with the Council, because humans had learned something important from their own history. When someone much stronger than you makes demands, you have two choices. Submit and hope they are merciful, or find a way to make yourself too dangerous to ignore. The Council expected humanity to choose submission. They were wrong. Jiho sent a carefully worded message to Ambassador Veltar, thanking the Council for their generous offer and promising that humanity would be ready in 30 days. The message was polite, respectful, and completely honest. Humanity would indeed be ready in 30 days, just not in the way the Council expected. Shin Hee-won sat in a windowless room deep beneath the Korean peninsula. As head of human intelligence, she had access to secrets that could start wars or prevent them. Today, she hoped to prevent one by preparing for it. Around her, dozens of screens showed information flowing in from across the galaxy. For 3 years since first contact, humans had been much more than polite guests to the Council. They had been careful observers, patient students, and when necessary, invisible spies. Show me the xenobiology reports, Haiwan said to her assistant. Dr. Yoon Jin-hyuk appeared on the main screen, speaking from his laboratory on Mars. Behind him, sealed containers held samples of Council technology and biological material. The results are better than we hoped, he said. All 12 Council species share a critical weakness. Bang Woo-jin, Earth's strategic warfare expert, leaned forward. Explain. They evolved on worlds with very stable environments, Jin-hyuk continued. No ice ages, no asteroid impacts, no sudden climate changes. Their biology and technology reflect this. They are extremely efficient but not adaptable. Haiwan smiled. Efficiency was impressive, but adaptability won wars. Their quantum communication network is the perfect example, Jin-hyuk said. It works flawlessly under normal conditions, but introduce unexpected variables, and the entire system becomes unstable. On another screen, Admiral Song Minji spoke from her command ship orbiting Jupiter. Our ships are in position. The Council thinks they are watching mining vessels and research platforms. They have no idea we have been building a fleet right under their noses. For 30 years, humans had been expanding into their solar system. The Council saw this as normal development for a young species. What they did not see was that every human vessel was designed with hidden capabilities. Mining ships carried military-grade sensors. Research platforms had concealed weapon systems. Transport vessels could become command centers at a moment's notice. Captain Kang Do-yoon's face appeared on a smaller screen. He was aboard what looked like a simple supply ship near one of the Council's monitoring stations. "The maintenance pods are ready for deployment," he reported. "The Council guards actually thanked us for offering to clean their sensor arrays." Haiwan almost laughed. The Council was so confident in their superiority that they never suspected human intentions. They saw humans as helpful primitives, eager to serve. It was a fatal mistake. "Dr. Nam, how are the viruses progressing?" Haiwan asked. Dr. Nam Yuri looked tired but excited. She had been working without sleep for 3 days. "The adaptive AI systems are ready. Engineer Oh and I have created something the Council has never encountered before." Engineer Oh Sungmin joined the conversation from his laboratory. "Council technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows predictable patterns. Our viruses are designed to learn and evolve faster than their systems can adapt. This was humanity's secret weapon. Not superior technology or overwhelming force, but something the Council had never experienced in their billion years of conquest. Creative chaos. Every species the Council had defeated followed logical, predictable patterns. They built traditional weapons, fought conventional battles, and eventually surrendered when facing impossible odds. But humans had spent their entire history fighting each other, and they had learned that the side willing to break the rules usually won." "Status report on Operation Silent Thunder?" Hwan asked. Bang Woo-jin pulled up tactical displays. "Phase 1 is complete. We have mapped their entire communication network, identified key vulnerabilities, and positioned our assets. Phase 2 begins in 18 hours. The beauty of Operation Silent Thunder was its simplicity. While the Council prepared for humanity's surrender, humans would appear to comply completely. They would send regular reports, answer all questions, and provide detailed plans for the transition period. Every report would contain hidden code that spread through Council systems like a virus. Every answer would include false information that painted humanity as weaker than they really were. Every plan would give the Council exactly what they expected to see, while concealing the truth. Captain Park Seo-ha contacted them from the asteroid belt. Her voice crackled through the communication system. "The hidden shipyards are ready to reveal themselves. We have 2,000 vessels standing by. 2,000 ships. The Council thought humanity had maybe 200 combat-capable vessels. They were wrong by an order of magnitude." "Excellent work, everyone," Haiwan said. "Remember, the next 18 days are the most critical. The Council must believe we are preparing to surrender. Any sign of resistance will bring their fleet down on us before we are ready." Over the following days, humanity put on the greatest performance in their history. President Choi Moran appeared on galactic broadcasts, speaking about the honor of joining the Council. Government officials held public meetings about reorganizing society to meet Council requirements. Military leaders discussed plans for integrating human forces with Council armies. All of it was theater, but it was convincing theater. Behind the scenes, the real work continued. Specialist Yang Hyemin and her cyber warfare team refined their attack programs. Commander Lee Junsu studied Council military tactics and identified weaknesses in their formations. Dr. Bae Young-ho used historical analysis to predict how the Council would respond to different scenarios. The psychological warfare expert Kim Han-seol prepared broadcasts that would be transmitted across the galaxy when the time came. His messages were designed to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of other species under Council rule. Lieutenant Colonel Seo Ji-won trained special forces, teams for ground operations. Her soldiers practiced using captured Council equipment and learned to exploit the aliens' biological weaknesses. Every day, Ambassador Veltar received detailed reports from Earth, production schedules for resource extraction, lists of humans selected for military service, plans for installing Council governors in major cities. Everything looked exactly as the Council expected. What they did not see were the hidden meanings in every document. The production schedules contained coordinates for human military bases. The service lists identified Earth's best special operations soldiers. The governance plans showed which human leaders were preparing to resist. On day 20, Veltar sent a message to the Council High Command. Humanity proceeds with compliance as expected. They show no signs of resistance. Their primitive psychology makes them easily controlled. The High Counselor Thekmar was pleased. Another species was about to join the Council Empire without costly fighting. Soon, human resources and technology would strengthen Council power even further. Neither alien realized they were watching shadows while humanity prepared to strike from directions they never imagined possible. Dr. Yoon Jin-hyuk made his final preparations, studying the biological samples one more time. Their overconfidence will be their downfall, he told his assistant. They assume all species think like they do. They cannot imagine minds that work differently. As day 25 arrived, Shin Haiwan felt a mixture of fear and excitement. In 5 more days, humanity would either win their freedom or face extinction. There would be no middle ground. She looked at the tactical displays one final time. Green lights showed human forces in position across the solar system and beyond. Status reports confirmed that all systems were ready. Intelligence networks had identified every council weakness. Now came the hardest part, waiting for the moment to strike, while making the enemy believe they had already won. President Choi Miran stood before the quantum communication array in Seoul. In 30 minutes, she would address the Galactic Council and change the course of history. Around her, technicians made final preparations while Director Kwon Tae-hyung monitored the countdown. Across the galaxy, the Council High Command gathered in their grand chamber on the capital world of Nexus Prime. High Counselor Thekmar sat on his throne, confident that today would mark another easy victory for the Empire. Around him, representatives of the 12 Council species waited to witness humanity's formal surrender. On Earth's orbital station, Ambassador Veltar prepared to enjoy the moment. For 30 days, he had watched humans scurry around like insects, organizing their own subjugation. It was always satisfying to see primitive species accept their place in the natural order. Miran looked at her advisors one final time. Kim So-min nodded from her position at the military command center. Shin Hee-won gave a thumbs up from the intelligence bunker. Bang Woo-jin confirmed that all strategic assets were in position. "Are we ready?" Miran asked. "All systems green, madam," President Kwon replied. "The galaxy is watching." The quantum link activated. Miran's image appeared simultaneously in the council chamber and on screens across hundreds of worlds. Her voice carried clearly through the vast distances of space. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," she began. 30 days ago you presented humanity with an offer to join your civilization. We have carefully considered your terms." Thekmar leaned forward slightly. The moment of triumph was at hand. After extensive deliberation, Miran continued, "Humanity must respectfully decline your generous offer." Silence filled the council chamber. Several alien counselors looked confused. Veltar's forearms tensed with surprise. "Instead," Miran said calmly, "we present our own proposal. The Galactic Council will immediately withdraw all forces from human space. You will provide reparations for the threats made against our people. You will recognize humanity's right to exist as a free and independent civilization." Now the silence broke. Alien voices rose in anger and disbelief. Thekmar's face twisted with rage. "Furthermore," Miran continued, "we demand that you end your practice of forcing subjugation on other species. The age of the Council Empire ends today." Thekmar stood from his throne, his massive form towering over the other counselors. "You dare make demands of us? Your pathetic species controls 3 small worlds. We command 847 star systems. Our fleet numbers 10,000 ships. Our empire has lasted for 1 billion years." "Your empire," Miran replied, "ends in 1 hour unless you accept our terms." The council chamber erupted in laughter. Even Veltar, despite his shock, found the human's arrogance amusing. "Little human," Thekmar said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You have 1 hour to reconsider this foolishness. After that, my fleet will turn your precious Earth into space dust." The quantum link closed. In the council chamber, Thekmar immediately began issuing orders. The council fleet would teach humanity a lesson that would echo across the galaxy for 1,000 years. But in the intelligence bunker beneath Korea, Shin Hee-won was already moving. "Execute Phase 1, she commanded. Across the solar system, the maintenance pods that Captain Kang Do-yoon's teams had installed near Council monitoring stations suddenly came alive. They were not maintenance equipment at all, but sophisticated signal jammers and quantum disruptors. Specialist Yang Hyemin watched her screens as the Council's communication network began to fragment. "Quantum links severing across 17 sectors," she reported. "They are losing contact with their fleet commanders." The beauty of the attack was its timing. The Council had just ordered their massive fleet to attack Earth, but now their ships could not receive those orders. Worse, the cascade failures in their communication system were spreading outward like ripples in a pond. Commander Park Seo-ha revealed the first surprise. Her voice came over the communication system from what the Council thought was an asteroid mining operation. "Hidden Fleet Alpha reporting. 200 vessels ready for combat operations." More voices followed. "Hidden Fleet Beta ready. 300 ships standing by." "Hidden Fleet Gamma prepared. 400 vessels armed and operational." Admiral Song Minji coordinated the revelation from her command ship. "All hidden fleets report ready. Total count. 2,000 vessels now decloak and show true capabilities." The Council had been watching shadows while humanity built a real military force. Every mining ship revealed hidden weapons. Every research station became a fortress. Every transport vessel transformed into a warship. Dr. Nam Yuri and engineer Oh Sung-min unleashed their masterpiece. The adaptive AI viruses that had been hiding in Council systems for weeks suddenly activated. Unlike any malware the aliens had encountered, these programs learned and evolved in real time. "Council defensive systems are adapting to our attacks," Nam reported, "but our viruses are adapting faster. They are creating new attack patterns faster than the Council can counter them." The Council had never faced an enemy that fought like this. Their billion years of experience meant nothing against tactics that had never existed before. On the Council capital world, chaos erupted as their command systems began failing. Ships lost navigation data. Weapon systems refused orders. Communications became garbled with false information. Dr. Yoon Jin-hyuk activated the biological warfare component. His research had identified a frequency that disrupted the nervous systems of all 12 Council species. The sound was harmless to humans, but caused severe disorientation in aliens. "Frequency weapons deploying across all Council facilities," he announced. "Enemy personnel report confusion and motor control problems." But the most devastating attack was psychological. Kim Han-seol began broadcasting across the galaxy, using captured Council communication networks to reach every species under their rule. "People of the galaxy," his voice echoed on 1,000 worlds. "Today you witness the fall of your oppressors. The mighty Council trembles before a single young species. If humans can resist, so can you." Lieutenant Colonel Seo Ji-won led ground teams that captured Council installations with shocking ease. The aliens, disoriented by the frequency weapons and cut off from support, surrendered without major fighting. "Intelligence package secured," she reported from a captured command center. "We now have access to their complete strategic database." Within the first hour, the Council lost operational control of 12 star systems. Their quantum communication network was in ruins. Their fleet was scattered and blind. Their ground forces were surrendering. High Counselor Theckamar stared at the tactical displays in his command center, unable to believe what he was seeing. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Ambassador Veltar, still on Earth's orbital station, found himself surrounded by human security forces. Captain Lee Jun-soo smiled politely as he placed the alien under arrest. "You asked how this was possible," Jun-soo said. "The answer is simple. You studied our technology and our resources, you never bothered to study our minds." Back on Earth, President Choi Moran watched the reports flow in. The first phase of Operation Silent Thunder was succeeding beyond their most optimistic projections. "Status report," she requested. "Council fleet scattered and unable to coordinate," Admiral Song reported. "Their communication network is 70% destroyed. Ground forces surrendering across multiple systems." Shin Hee-won added her assessment. Enemy morale is collapsing. Our psychological warfare broadcasts are triggering revolts on 15 worlds. But Moran knew this was only the beginning. Defeating the Council military was just the first step. The real challenge would be building something better to replace their empire. The hour that would change the galaxy was not yet over. 72 hours after humanity's first strike, the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had imagined possible. Admiral Song Minji stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching tactical displays that showed the complete collapse of Council authority across 17 star systems. Fleet status report, she requested. Captain Lee Junsu appeared on the communication screen from the captured Council station near Jupiter. All human vessels operational. Enemy losses. 400 ships. Destroyed. 2,000 captured or disabled. Our losses. 37 ships damaged. None destroyed. The numbers were staggering. In 3 days, humanity had crippled a fleet that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. But Song knew the real victory was not military. It was psychological. Dr. Bae Young-ho had studied every Council conquest in recorded history. He had warned the human leadership that the aliens would follow predictable patterns based on their past successes. They will try to regroup using their standard protocols, he had said. But those protocols assume they are fighting a conventional enemy. He was right. The Council kept trying to re-establish their quantum communication network using the same frequencies and encryption methods they had used for 1,000 years. Each attempt was immediately detected and corrupted by the adaptive AI viruses that Dr. Nam Yuri had created. They cannot learn, Nam reported from her laboratory on Mars. Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that their technology is superior. When that fails, they have no backup plans. Engineer Oh Sungmin monitored the spread of the virus programs across Council networks. The AI systems are now controlling 40% of their infrastructure. Power grids, transportation systems, food distribution networks, all compromised. But the most dramatic changes were happening on the worlds where other species lived under Council rule. Kim Hanseol's psychological warfare broadcasts had sparked something the galaxy had not seen in centuries. Hope. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, the insectoid Jektar species had worked as slaves for 300 years. When they heard that humanity had defeated Council forces, they stopped working and demanded freedom. Within hours, the few Council overseers fled the planet. Similar uprisings were spreading across dozens of worlds. Species that had forgotten they could resist suddenly remembered the meaning of freedom. Lieutenant Colonel Seo Jiwon led the liberation of these worlds, working with local resistance groups that emerged seemingly overnight. The Council never bothered to learn about the species they conquered, she reported. They assumed fear would keep everyone obedient forever. Her teams had developed a new kind of warfare. Instead of occupying conquered territories, they helped local populations organize their own governments. Instead of replacing Council tyranny with human control, they simply removed the chains and let people choose their own paths. Liberation complete on 7 worlds, Jiwon announced. Local defense forces established. No human troops required for occupation. The strategy was working brilliantly. Every world that freed itself became a beacon of hope for others still under Council control. The Empire was not just losing territory, it was losing legitimacy. High Counselor Thekmar sat in his command bunker on Nexus Prime, surrounded by the wreckage of his once mighty empire. His advisors brought him reports of disasters from across the galaxy. The Outer Rim colonies have declared independence. One advisor reported, the mining guilds are refusing to deliver resources. 3 more Council species have requested negotiations with the humans. Thekmar roared in frustration. How can they betray the order that gave them civilization? How can they side with primitive barbarians? But his advisors had no answers. The Council had ruled through fear and superior technology for so long that they had forgotten how to inspire loyalty. When their technology failed, they had nothing left. Dr. Yoon Jin-hyuk made another breakthrough in his xenobiology research. I have identified the source of their psychological rigidity, he announced. All 12 Council species evolved on worlds with very stable environments. They never developed the mental flexibility that comes from surviving constant change. This explained why the Council could not adapt to humanity's unconventional tactics. Their minds simply could not process the idea that their billion-year-old methods might be wrong. Captain Kang Do-yoon led reconnaissance missions deep into Council space, gathering intelligence about their remaining strongholds. What he found was an empire eating itself alive. Council species are fighting each other, he reported. They are blaming each other for the military failures. Some are trying to negotiate separate peace deals with us. The ancient alliance that had held the Council together was fracturing under pressure. Without external enemies to focus their aggression, the different species turned on each other. Specialist Yang Hyemin and her cyber warfare team achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They gained control of the Council's central data banks on Nexus Prime. We now have access to their complete historical records, she announced. Financial data, military plans, lists of oppressed populations, evidence of war crimes, everything. The information was devastating. The Council had committed atrocities on a scale that shocked even humanity's military leaders. Entire species had been enslaved or exterminated. Worlds had been strip-mined until they became uninhabitable. The galaxy had been bleeding for 1 billion years. Commander Park Seo-ha used this intelligence to coordinate surgical strikes against the Council's remaining power centers. Her forces moved with precision, targeting key installations while avoiding civilian populations. Strategic assets neutralized on 12 more worlds, she reported. Council administrative centers captured intact. Local populations celebrating in the streets. But the most important victory came from an unexpected source. 3 of the 12 Council species decided to switch sides. The aquatic Myrthon had always been uncomfortable with the Council's brutal methods. When they saw humanity offering genuine partnership instead of domination, they chose to join the rebellion. The energy-based Luxani were impressed by human adaptability and creativity. They provided crucial intelligence about Council weaknesses in exchange for recognition of their independence. Most surprisingly, the warrior Kethron admired humanity's military innovation so much that they formally requested to become human allies. Director Kwon Tae-hyung coordinated these diplomatic breakthroughs from Earth. The Council is losing members faster than they are losing territory, he observed. Their empire is dissolving from within. By the end of the week, the once mighty Galactic Council controlled less than half the territory they had ruled just days before. Their fleet was scattered and demoralized. Their communication network was in ruins. Their member species were abandoning them. President Choi Moran addressed the galaxy again, speaking to an audience that now included billions of newly freed beings. "The age of empire is ending," she declared. "The age of cooperation begins today. Humanity does not seek to replace the Council's tyranny with our own. We seek to build a galaxy where all species can choose their own destiny." High Counselor. Tekmar watched this broadcast from his bunker, finally beginning to understand the magnitude of his defeat. The humans had not just won a military victory, they had proven that there was a better way to organize galactic civilization. For the first time in his life, the mighty alien leader felt something he had never experienced before: doubt about his own superiority. The galaxy was awakening from a nightmare that had lasted 1 billion years, and humanity had shown them the way to a better dream. 6 months after the Council's ultimatum, President Choi Moran stood before the newly constructed assembly hall on the neutral world of Haven. Representatives from over 200 species filled the vast chamber: former Council subjects, liberated, worlds, and even some reformed Council species who had chosen cooperation over domination. The building itself was a symbol of the new galaxy. Designed by architects from 12 different species, it combined the best ideas from all their cultures. Transparent walls allowed natural light to fill the space, while adaptive technology ensured that every being could participate, regardless of their environmental needs. Ambassador Park Ji-ho took his place at the podium, no longer Earth's lead diplomat but now humanity's representative to the United Species Assembly. The organization that replaced the tyrannical council was everything the old empire was not. democratic, voluntary, and focused on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. 6 months ago, Jiho began, this galaxy was ruled by fear. Today, it is guided by hope. We gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as partners in building a better future. In the audience, representatives from worlds that had been enslaved for centuries listened with wonder. The Jektar delegate, whose insectoid species had sparked the first rebellion, clicked his approval. The aquatic Murthon ambassador rippled her approval through the water-filled section of her seating area. Admiral Song Minji commanded the Joint Defense Fleet from her headquarters on Kepler Station. The new fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of one species dominating others, each member contributed according to their strengths. Fleet composition report, she requested from her staff. 200 human vessels providing tactical coordination, her aide reported. 150 Kethran ships for heavy assault. 80 Murthon submarines for aquatic operations. 60 Luxani energy projection platforms. Combined total, over 800 ships from 43 different species. The diversity was their greatest strength. When the Council's remaining hardliners tried to retake lost territory, they faced tactics they could not predict or counter. How do you fight an enemy that includes species you have never encountered working together in ways you cannot imagine? Captain Kang Doyun led the Exploration Division, which had become the most popular career choice for young beings across the galaxy. Instead of conquering new worlds, they searched for new friends. Exploration Report 847, he announced during his weekly briefing. First contact established with the crystalline Shardek species in the Andromeda approach. They are interested in joining the assembly after observing our treatment of other new members. This was how the new galaxy grew, through invitation rather than invasion. Word spread that joining the assembly meant keeping your freedom while gaining access to shared knowledge, technology, and protection. Dr. Yoon Jin-hyuk had become the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies cooperation. His research stations, scattered across dozens of worlds, studied how different forms of life could work together effectively. The biological diversity advantage is even greater than we predicted, he reported to the Assembly Science Council. Each species contributes unique perspectives that make the whole stronger than any individual part. His work had led to breakthroughs in medicine, engineering, and even philosophy. When beings from different worlds shared their knowledge freely, solutions emerged that no single species could have discovered alone. Dr. Nam Yuri and engineer Oh Seung-min had revolutionized galactic technology by applying human principles of open-source development. Instead of hoarding secrets, they encouraged every species to contribute improvements. The adaptive AI systems now incorporate innovations from 67 different species, Nam announced. Each upgrade makes the network more responsive and creative. The result was technology that grew and evolved faster than anything in galactic history. Problems that would have taken the Council centuries to solve were being addressed in months or weeks. Lieutenant Colonel Seo Ji-won had perhaps the most challenging job in the new galaxy. She led the rehabilitation program for former Council enforcers and hardliners who refused to accept the new order. The prison world of redemption housed the worst offenders, including former High Counselor Thekmar himself. But it was not a place of punishment. It was a place of education. Monthly report from Redemption, Ji-won announced during the security briefing. 37 former council officials have completed rehabilitation and requested to contribute to assembly projects. 12 more are showing significant progress. Warden Choi Myung-soo had developed a unique approach to prisoner rehabilitation. Instead of breaking spirits, he challenged minds. Prisoners studied human history, learning about species that had overcome their own violent pasts. Thekmar had been the most resistant student. For months, he refused to participate in any programs. But gradually, exposure to human philosophy and the testimonies of liberated species began to change his perspective. In his final journal entry before being released to supervised community service, he wrote, "I spent 1 billion years believing that strength meant dominance. These humans taught me that true strength means lifting others up instead of holding them down. Kim Hansale had expanded his psychological warfare expertise into something more positive: interspecies communication and cultural exchange. His broadcasts now promoted understanding rather than rebellion. Cultural exchange program statistics, he reported. Over 2 million beings have participated in interspecies cultural immersion experiences. Prejudice and fear levels have dropped by 70% across all participating worlds. The program was simple but effective. Members of different species lived and worked together for extended periods, learning that their differences were strengths rather than threats. Dr. Bai Young-ho had become the Assembly's chief historian, documenting the transformation of galactic civilization. His work ensured that future generations would remember both the horrors of the Council era and the hope of the Assembly age. Historical analysis complete, he announced. The transition from Empire to Assembly represents the greatest peaceful transformation in galactic history. The principles established here are already spreading to other galaxies through our exploration contacts. Specialist Zhang Hiemen led the technological integration team, ensuring that all species could participate fully in the Galactic Information Network. Universal access achieved, she reported. Every species now has communication protocols that allow full participation in assembly activities. Language barriers have been effectively eliminated. The network had become more than just a communication system. It was the nervous system of a new kind of civilization. Ideas flowed freely across vast distances, creating connections that strengthened the entire galaxy. As President Choi Moran concluded her address to the Assembly, she reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had faced extinction. Today, they were part of something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The Council tried to extort humanity, she said in her closing remarks. They demanded our submission and threatened our destruction. Instead, their actions led to the liberation of the entire galaxy. The chamber erupted in approval from hundreds of different species, each expressing joy in their own unique way. Outside the assembly hall, the city of Haven bustled with activity. Beings from across the galaxy worked, learned, and lived together in harmony. Children of different species played together in parks designed for all their different needs. Captain Park Seoha prepared for the next phase of exploration, leading missions beyond the galaxy to find new civilizations that might benefit from assembly principles. Long-range exploration fleet ready for deployment, she announced. Destination: the Magellanic Clouds. Mission: share the principles of freedom and cooperation with whatever civilizations we encounter. The galaxy had learned that the best defense against tyranny was not stronger weapons or higher walls. It was a better idea of what civilization could be, and that idea was spreading to the stars. In military academies across the galaxy, cadets studied what became known as the human doctrine. Never underestimate a species that turns its weaknesses into strengths, its diversity into unity, and its compassion into strategy. The doctrine had 3 core principles that changed galactic civilization forever. First, diversity creates strength rather than weakness. When different perspectives work together, they solve problems that no single viewpoint could address. Second, freedom must be chosen, not imposed. Liberation that comes from within lasts longer than peace enforced from outside. Third, the best victory is one that makes former enemies into friends. Conquest creates resentment, but cooperation creates loyalty. The Galactic Council had ruled through fear for 1 billion years. The United Species Assembly would last far longer because it ruled through hope. And it all began when humanity faced an impossible choice and decided to create a third option that no one had imagined before.